You can now get a 30-day trial to experience The Athletic for free. Visit the link in the description below to try it now.
Hello, I'm JJ Bull and this is Tifo IRL, and in this video we're going to talk about Martin Odegaard because Arsenal have finally signed him. He was very good last season when he was on loan from Real Madrid, and now he's back and he's going to play here as a number 10 in Mikel Arteta's team. He plays a 10 here. He could also, if they take one of these guys out, put him to the side as in a 4-3-3. We can put Xhaka in. That's something else they could do. They don't do that. They can also, if he decides to revert back to the 3-4-3, it's another thing, but it's just the same position. You know, he plays off the right because he's left-footed, and Smith Rowe is going to play in this sort of left space here. But the thing with Odegaard is that he is very good, but his numbers aren't amazing. He had 2 assists and 1 goal in 14 league games last season, and 1 goal in 6 Europa League appearances, which it's not prolific. So what is it that he does? Is he actually that good? Is he the answer to their problems? Is he going to rescue Arsenal's season? Not that it's, bad. Goals and assists are obviously very important, but there are lots of other stats underneath the hood that can let us know how good a team is. And the thing with Odegaard is he poses a genuine threat to the opposition, like he's really creative. We've talked in other IRL videos before about Arsenal's attacking problems, and specifically this kind of never-ending donut of sadness where they pass around this area over here again and again and again and don't score. And Odegaard admittedly was part of that last season, but the hidden numbers, these secret ones, they're available, they show that he makes Arsenal much better. So Odegaard's expected threat per 90 last season has him joint top with Kevin De Bruyne in the Premier League last season. That's quite good because, as we know, Kevin De Bruyne is rather a tidy player. Odegaard is as much of a threat, or was last season, and this is what Arsenal need. Now, to understand what expected threat is a bit better, I'd recommend going to The Athletic. There's an article on expected threat there by Tom Worville. That's great. But also, why not just learn a little bit about it right now from Nick Miller?
Oh, hello. Expected threat is a metric which measures how quickly teams and players get the ball into dangerous areas. It's a bit like expected goals, but not quite the same.
Thanks, Nick. Now, one of the things that makes Odegaard such a key player for Arsenal is his positioning, specifically where he plays and how he plays. Smith Rowe is more of, we'll call him a half-space boy, in that he likes to play in the half-space. So we're going to draw for you. I would like doing this so you know what I'm talking about. So Smith Rowe likes to operate in these sorts of positions, and he's more of a kind of link player. Although he likes to drive the ball and get into these positions, doesn't shoot as much as Odegaard, he shoots a lot more. But yeah, he's more of a link player, and that may develop in time. But we're looking at Arsenal's over-dependence on the left side of their team, and like the first game of the season was against Brentford, the most passes were between Tierney and Xhaka. Tierney's heavily involved, and we know Tierney makes this sort of overlapping run here. So we're going to show you like how Odegaard's positioning as a 10 works in this sort of shape for Arsenal. So everything tends to go through Tierney, and Odegaard's timing of run is really important. So it's not just being in the right place, but it's knowing when to time your run to be in the right place at the right time to arrive in space. Now, we know that Tierney is going to make this run to overlap always. This is what he needs to do. And this is the kind of thing Smith Rowe will do. It's quite clever play. So Xhaka wants to be able to get this ball into Tierney. And to do that, they need to get rid of these players in the way. So someone like Smith Rowe will make this sort of run out the way. And when he makes this run, it drags this defender with him. That frees up this pass here to Tierney. This is an example of the kind of thing Arsenal do quite a lot with their combinations on the left. Now, as this happens here, straight away what's going to happen is that Aubameyang is going to try and look to get to the near post. This is a pretty common example of what Arsenal will do. And you make this kind of curved run around the front of defenders. Because he's going to get here, and Tierney's here. So Tierney's obviously now, what everyone thinks he's going to do is make this sort of cross in. This is what everyone thinks Tierney's going to do, because it's the most logical thing. So the defenders will drop back and they'll get in line with this. This guy goes out to Tierney, drop back here. And then Aubameyang's going to try and make this run across the front to get onto a cross that comes in from Tierney. You'll score there, that sort of thing there. But this is where Odegaard's timing of his run is really clever. So Saka might go into the back here as well. Odegaard as a 10 will make this run into this, I'm going to draw the danger zone that Kenny Loggins always sang about. So this is your area where you're most likely to score from. Level with the 6-yard box basically. So between, the closer to the goal you are, obviously the better, the more likely you are to score. And the more central of the pitch you are, the more likely you're going to score. So that's the kind of danger zone you want to get to. Odegaard will make this run. And because Aubameyang's made this run here and dragged the defence with him, and Odegaard's held his run to time his run to get in the place at the right time, he'll get here. Tierney can then play this sort of ball, which is a cutback. Oh, there we go. So you think he's going to play the cross on the yellow. He instead plays this kind of low cutback to Odegaard, and he scores. Now, it might look very simple, but it's all about timing of run from Odegaard. He knows when to be in space. If he goes too early, someone's going to track him and block him. If he goes too late, he's not going to get there in time. It's all about making sure he's in space. It might not look like he's even involved in play, but he is constantly involved in the construction of attacks and getting on the end of things like that. He takes more shots than Smith Rowe, and that's important because Arsenal need to do that. They need to score more, essentially. And Odegaard is a creative player who can play as a second striker when he needs to, but is still that creative outlet, playing passes that will help Arsenal construct things in the final third that can break teams down. Odegaard works really hard out of possession. He's a busy boy. And that's definitely one of the reasons in particular that Arteta wants him in the team rather than any other number of 10s and maybe be able to sign. Very creative, but his defensive work rate is key. One of the things that is particularly impressive about Odegaard was since joining in January last season, he made more pressures, as in closing down players basically, than any other Arsenal player. His numbers compared to other Arsenal forwards shows that he just does either more or is better at it. And you can look at an example of what he does. So although they line up in a 4-2-3-1, when they tend to defend with Odegaard from the front, it becomes this kind of 4-4-2. If you can see the two here between Odegaard and Aubameyang, the four. It's quite common. A lot of teams do this now. But the pressing from the front is what they need. So we know Aubameyang, Smith Rowe and Saka, they do it. They don't do it as well or as much. So if you're building from the back here, the opposition, you get a couple of options from the goalie. Pass to these guys here, and he'll naturally want to go into here. So in this situation here, Odegaard or Aubameyang will make sure that this is closed off here. Look, so the goalkeeper might have the ball here, Aubameyang's going to be here, and that means he can't pass there. So he puts the ball into his other foot. That's a trigger for Odegaard to know that the ball's probably going to go to this guy. So as soon as that happens, Odegaard makes these clever runs where he curves runs around the outside. So say this defender moves back here, right? The goalkeeper passes here. Odegaard makes this run to close off the lane back to the goalie. And that is then a trigger for someone to push up to this guy to make sure that ball can't go into here. And that means Saka gets tight to this guy because the next obvious pass is going to be this pass. Now, this is taken from an actual example of just a random game. I think it's a Europa League game. The ball goes out to this guy here. Saka's tight to him. Now they've got a decision to make. Odegaard then very cleverly makes this kind of run into here. So he's blocking the pass back to this guy and also could step in to stop it across to this guy here. So there's no real way out. This guy then tries to make this sort of bendy dribble. I like this dribble like this, around like this, because Saka's showing him inside and he can't get anywhere with the ball. And as he goes in this way, along this lovely bendy snake, Odegaard comes in, steals the ball, and Arsenal have a turnover. And then you've got all these players here, Sambi or Aubameyang, Odegaard, Saka then can run in behind, and they've got options. It's just an example of like Odegaard's body positioning is really clever. Like he makes runs across defenders to make sure that the ball has to go a certain way to help trigger the press. He makes more pressures than the other players, so he's always the one leading it. It's the kind of thing Arsenal need, is someone who takes responsibility and constantly closes players down. So he's really important for their pressing. Arteta himself has said that his work rate is incredible, he's got real stamina, he's very talented. But not only that, he is intelligent. The timing of his runs, when he presses, his body shape, he is giving us something different. That's what Arteta says, and that's what Arsenal now have. He's a very talented young player who will make them much better in the final third creatively, but also is key to how Arteta wants to press and win the ball back out of possession. And that's Martin Odegaard. And for more analysis like this, hey, it's Tifo IRL. We've got all these videos coming up all the time. Please subscribe. We'd love to have you back. Have a lovely time.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic brings you the best sports journalism in the world in a personalised experience, connecting you with the stories and teams that you care about the most. There's coverage of 13 sports, plus direct access to world-class journalists through live Q&As, discussions and podcasts. Not to mention, it's all ad-free. And you can try it now for free for 30 days by clicking the link in the description.